Hello, welcome to Algebra 2 Common Core. Today we're going to be doing some work using our Texas Instruments graphing calculators. So pause the video if you need to go get your calculator, and then restart the video when you have it. For our first example, we're going to learn how to use the store feature on our calculator. This is one of the most useful features of our graphing calculator, and you may not know how to use it already. I have some pictures of the front of our calculator as well as some steps that we're going to use in pressing the keys on the calculator. For the first exercise, we'd like to find the value of the expression using this store feature on our calculator. Notice that we're going to be finding the value of x squared minus 2x plus 7 when x is equal to 5. Now, of course, we could substitute the 5 in for x and evaluate it without our calculator. But today we'd like to learn how to do this using our calculator in the most efficient way possible. So, following the steps above, you'll notice that we are going to select the 5 key, and then we're going to find the store key. On our calculator, you'll see that store is in the bottom left-hand corner right above the on key. When you press store, you'll notice that you end up with the 5 and then an arrow. The arrow designates store. We want to tell the calculator where we want to store that value, so we're going to press the key that looks like this, X, T, theta, N. You'll notice on your calculator that this is toward the top left side of your calculator, next to the alpha key. Once you have pressed that, you are then going to press the Enter key. Your calculator will put the 5 on the screen, showing that 5 has been stored in the variable called x in the memory of the calculator. So if we want to evaluate the expression x squared minus 2x plus 7, the very next line on our calculator should just say x squared minus 2x plus 7. So we're going to press the X key again, that very same variable key, X, T, theta, N. We can press the squared key, so that's the button that says X to the second. That will put the X squared on the next line of our calculator. And then we follow the expression, pressing the minus sign, then the 2, then the X, then the plus sign, and then the 7. Now, when we press Enter, our calculator will tell us the value of the expression for the value x equals 5 because we've stored 5 in our calculator. You should get the answer 22. If you don't get that answer, go back and restore 5 in the x and then try typing the expression again and pressing Enter again. Now we're going to try this for various values of x. So for the next value of x, we are going to choose x equals negative 10. So again, remember, we're going to type in negative sign. Remember that the negative sign is right next to the decimal point. We're then going to press the number 10. We're going to use the store key to store negative 10 in the x variable. Now, be very careful when you're entering this expression. Don't forget to type Enter after that. But now when we are typing the expression 2x plus 6 divided by 3x minus 5, make sure that you're using parentheses for the numerator and the denominator. So 2x plus 6 has to be in parentheses, and 3x minus 5 has to be in parentheses. So you should be typing parentheses, 2x plus 6, close parentheses, then use the divided by sign, parentheses, 3x minus 5, close parentheses. When you press Enter, you should either get the fraction form of this answer, 2/5, or your calculator may give you the decimal form, 0.4. Hopefully you do know that if you got the decimal 0.4, you could press the math key and convert that answer as a decimal over to a fraction. Lastly, let's go to the example where we want to try x equals 2 and type it into this expression. So once again, store the number 2 in our variable called x. Remember that absolute value is also under the math menu. So you're going to hit the math key, and after you hit the math key, you're going to arrow over to where it says NUM, number, and choose number 1, absolute value. When you type that into your calculator, absolute value of 7x minus 20, close absolute value, plus x squared, you should get the result 10. If you have any questions about this, please try again or see me in the morning. Now we're going to continue on with the expression the square root of 6 minus 2x. So for this example, what we'd like to try is storing the value 5 for x. So go through the process to put 5, store, x, enter. Now, when you do that, your calculator gives us the answer, non-real answer. So our question is, what does that mean, non-real answer? If we evaluate this, we can say 6 minus 2 times 5 underneath the radical. When I do that calculation, I get the square root of 6 minus 10, which is, of course, the square root of negative 4. Now for us right now in this course, we would call that a non-real answer because we don't know how to take the square root of a negative number. We will as this course progresses, but we don't right now. And our calculator will call that a non-real answer. Now let's take a look at the next exercise where we are going to look at the product of the binomials 3x plus 2 and x plus 5. We want to go ahead and find that product. So when I find that product, I can use either double distribution or I can use the tabular method. You pick which one you like the best. Maybe pause the video right now so that you can do that work and then come back and we'll step through and make sure that we all got the same result. Welcome back. I used double distribution on this one. So for double distribution, I multiplied the 3x times the x and then the 3x times the 5. That gave me 3x squared plus 15x. Then I moved to the 2, so I multiplied the 2 times the x and the 2 times the 5. That gave me 2x plus 10. Combining like terms, we've got 3x squared plus 17x plus 10. Now, what we'd like to do is compare both the trinomial and the product of the binomials at the x value of negative 2. So please take a minute and store negative 2 in for x on your calculator. So again, as a reminder, negative 2, use the store key, press the X button, and then don't forget to press enter. Now, I'd like to type both the trinomial, so let's start with that on our calculator. So type in 3, then the X key, and then the key that says x squared, because that'll square the x, plus 17x, plus 10. After I press enter, my calculator gave me an answer of negative 12. Hopefully you got the same answer. Now let's compare that to the binomial on our calculator so that we can see if we did that multiplication correctly. So on my calculator, I'm now going to type parentheses, 3x plus 2, close parentheses, open parentheses, x plus 5, close parentheses, press enter again, and my calculator also gave me the answer, negative 12. Well, this is a way of verifying that we have correctly multiplied these two binomials together correctly. when I substituted a value for x into the trinomial, and I substituted the very same value for x into the binomial product, I got the same result. So that's a good indication that I do have the correct product in multiplying those two binomials together. Now let's keep that same trinomial and let's take a look at what happens when we store the value x equals -5. So again, store -5, store x, and this time type the trinomial 3x squared plus 17x plus 10 once again on your calculator. What answer did you get? I got the answer 0. Now let's think about why we get that answer of 0. When we look back at the product of our binomials, 3x plus 2 times x plus 5, we notice that this binomial would have a value of 0 when x is equal to -5. -5 plus 5 is 0, and when I multiply 0 times anything else, I'm going to get this answer of 0. So that result of 0 makes sense. Let's move on to the second feature on our calculator today, which is using a table of values. I'm going to step you through entering a function on your calculator. So the equation that we would like to enter on our calculator is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 16x minus 32. When you look at your calculator, you want to select the y equals key on your calculator so that we can enter this equation. I've written down the steps, the keys that you would have to press in order to get this equation into your calculator. Please take a moment and enter that in. Pause the video so that you have enough time to enter that into your calculator. Welcome back. Your calculator should look just like mine, where it has y is equal to x cubed plus 2x squared minus 16x minus 32. If yours doesn't look like this, clear it and try again. Now, this one says that we would like to make a table of values to find the 0 on the interval from 0 to 10. Let's recall how to make a table of values on our calculator. First of all, you'll notice this table set direction, which is directly above the window key. Since it's above the window key, we're going to have to press the second key first and then the window key. When we do that, we want to make sure that our table start is 0 because we want to start with an x value of 0. The symbol triangle means delta or change in table, and we'd like that to be equal to 1. Both my independent and dependent variables should be highlighted on auto. If those things are all set up correctly, we're now going to press the second key and the graph key because we would like to make our table of values. Notice that we're making the table of values beginning at 0, but we want to keep it going all the way to 10. So this is going to take quite a bit of room. I'm going to set mine up over on the side of my paper. Here's my x, here's my y, and I'm going to go all the way from 0 to 10 for my x's. I may have to expand my table a little bit. Your calculator should have given you the following answers: -32, -45, -48, -35, 0, 63, 160. At 7, we're at 297. 8 is 480. 9 is 715, and 10 is 1008. You'll notice that you'll have to use the arrow keys to scroll up and down through your table because the screen isn't big enough to show all 10 values at once. Now, it says that we would like to find an integer 0. An integer 0, of course, means where the y value is 0. So when I look at my table, I see that I do have a place where y is equal to 0, and that's occurring when x is equal to 4. We would call 4 a 0. It's called an integer 0 because 4 happens to be a positive integer. So we can use a table of values to find important characteristics about functions. Now, what we'd like to do is move on to the following simplification. In order to simplify this expression, we are going to have to do double distribution twice. X times x, that gives me x squared. X times 8 would be 8x. 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 8 is plus 40. I'm going to take that whole answer and I'm going to subtract the next multiplication. X times x, x squared. X times negative 2, negative 2x. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times negative 2, negative 6. Now, because I'm trying to subtract the second polynomial, I'm going to do two steps at once. I'm going to combine like terms, and I'm also going to negate every term in the second parentheses. So I've got x squared plus 13x plus 40 minus, I've got an x squared. When I combine negative 2x and positive 3x, that gives me a positive x, but remember I'm subtracting, so I'm going to negate that 1x. I'm also going to negate the negative 6, and that gives me a positive 6. When I put together the like terms, you'll notice that x squared and negative x squared are going to cancel. So my final answer here should be 12x plus 46. Now we're going to use our table of values in order to compare the original expression with our answer to see if we got the correct result. So my y2 is going to be that answer, 12x plus 46. My y1 will just be the entire original expression. So I'm going to put that into my calculator under y1. So let's take a minute and go back to our graphing calculator. Press the y equals key. And next to y1, we want to enter this expression that we have circled right here in red. Parentheses x plus 5 times x plus 8 minus parentheses x plus 3 times x minus 2. That is a rather long expression, so you might have to pause the video to do the whole entering. Now go down to y2, and next to y2, let's enter the answer that we got, 12x plus 46. Now our goal is to find these answers. This time our table again starts with 0, so we're going to press second, and then the graph key so that we are using the table of values. You'll notice that this time we have two columns that are filled in because we have two functions entered. So I'm going to fill in my y1 first of all in red. I've got 46, 58, 70, 82, 94, and 106. Now let's go to my y2 column, and hopefully you notice that the answers are exactly the same. 46, 58, 70, 82, 94, and 106. This is a really good indication that the function that's stored in y1 and the function that's stored in y2 at least have the same function values at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's a good indication that we've correctly multiplied those two expressions together and then subtracted correctly. If my two columns did not match, I'd have to go back and rework the algebraic expressions above in exercise 5 to see where I made an error. Now let's summarize what we have done. We can talk about store on our calculator. Store is really useful when we want to evaluate expressions. So if we'd like to evaluate an expression at a given value, we should use store. We're going to see tomorrow in class that store can also be used when we want to check solutions in an equation. So to summarize, you should write both of these down in the box next to the word store. For tables, on our calculator throughout this year, we're going to be using tables quite a bit. One helpful way is to find zeros of a function. Another reason we might want to use a table is to compare values of equations. I'm sorry, I should have said expressions. To make sure they match. This can verify if a simplification is correct. So please write down a couple ways that we can use tables. You're going to want to review these before coming to class tomorrow and be very familiar with how to do these two things on your calculator. So make sure that you have practiced with me using the calculator. If you didn't have your calculator in front of you, re-watch the video using your calculator because this is a really important aspect of Algebra 2. Thanks for now. We'll see you tomorrow and have a great night. Bye-bye.